Researchers just proved that oversight of AI is an illusion. And if you're using AI in your business right now, this one applies directly to you. I am going to break down exactly what it means and what to do about it later in this video. Plus, Anthropic just turned Claude into a workforce that runs while you sleep. This is your weekly AI news roundup. Let me break it all down. Researchers have proved that human oversight in AI is an illusion. And if you're using AI in your business right now, this one applies directly to you. I am going to break down exactly what this means and what to do about it later in the video. Plus, Anthropic just turned Claude into a workforce that runs while you sleep. An AI marketing startup has just hit 100 million in revenue, and 35% of all websites are actually AI generated. This is your weekly AI news roundup. Let me break it all down. Welcome to the AI in Business channel. My name is James Anderson and this is your weekly AI news roundup. Every week I condense the biggest AI news stories into what actually matters for your business. No jargon, no hype, just what you need to know. Let's get into it. First up, Anthropic has completely redesigned their Claude desktop app and launched something called routines in research preview. Now this is significant because it signals a shift from AI as a chatbot to AI as a workforce. The desktop app now allows Claude to control your computer directly, clicking buttons, opening applications, and executing tasks while you step away. But here's the part that matters. Routines are templated automations that you can set and run on a schedule. Hourly, daily, triggered by events like a new pull request on GitHub. There are two models. A local model runs on your machine with full computer control, and a remote mode which runs on Anthropic's cloud, meaning it works even when your device is off. It connects to tools like Gmail, Slack, Google Calendar, Canva, and Figma. I use the Claude desktop app all the time. I use Cowork and I also use Claude Code for development on there. Why I think this is really cool is obviously you can do routines and you can schedule essentially cron jobs to run while you're asleep. So normally if I'm doing work on code, if I'm doing some stuff overnight, I'll leave my laptop flashed up. I'll sometimes connect it to my phone if I'm out, but it means leaving your laptop on. So now basically what they've done is created this cloud function whereby you can essentially host some scripts or skills and you can run them using routines when you're asleep or essentially you're not available, you're traveling, whatever that might be. So here's why this matters for your business. If you have repetitive tasks that follow clear steps, things like generating reports, scanning documents, sending follow-up emails, or monitoring data, this is the kind of tool that could handle them automatically. So again, non-sensitive tasks for this one if you're going to be putting things on cloud, like marketing, scheduling and content drafting, genuinely useful stuff. But here's the caveat. Remote mode means data is going through Anthropic servers. And if you're dealing with customer records, financial data, anything confidential, you need to think carefully about that. For sensitive operations, we always recommend running local models on your own hardware for your business, and this is still the safest option, but the direction is clear. AI is moving from answering your questions to actually doing your work, which is where we want to be. Just make sure you obviously know where your data goes before you hand over the keys to that. Quick one, before I go into the next story, if you're finding this useful, please hit subscribe because I break this down every single week. I don't want you to miss anything important. It's tailored towards business owners and senior business operators. So please click the subscribe button below. And also a question, I'm curious, are you using AI for your marketing right now? Do you use it for content creation? Are you using it for blog posts or social media management? If you are, drop it in the comments below because it's great. I'm trying to build a community here and I want your input. A startup called Hightouch just hit $100 million in annual recurring revenue. And 70 million of that came in just 20 months after they launched their AI marketing platform. Here's what they do. Hightouch lets marketing teams create custom content for the brands, things like images, videos, and ad campaigns, using AI agents that connect directly to companies' existing tools, Figma, photo libraries, content management systems. The AI learns the brand's specific identity and these sources to make sure everything stays on brand without needing designers or agencies for every single piece. They serve big names at the moment like Domino's, Spotify, Grammarly, and the reason this works is that many brands initially tried using general AI models for their advertising only to find the results were actually off-brand. The AI would hallucinate products that didn't exist, which is a disaster for advertising. For your business, the lesson here is not that you need necessarily to use Hightouch at their price point. It's still an enterprise tool for larger businesses, but the lesson is what it proves. AI marketing works when it's connected to your specific data, your brand assets, your existing content. And here's the main thing. You don't need a $100 million platform to do that. You can build something similar yourself using open source models connected to your own data offline, safe and secure. I do this with the marketing in my business. I use AI tools locally, connected to brand guidelines and content library, and it works. It really does work. You have to fine tune it, you have to spend the time delivering it, but then you own it. You own the full thing, no subscriptions, it's all your baby. The key is obviously making sure you organize your data first, setting the foundations for anything AI in your business, and that's developing your foundational context documentation, things like brand tone, voice guidelines, marketing guidelines, legal and compliance guidelines. All of these things, you set them up first and then you put your AI tools on top of it so they basically work better. Now, this story affects every business that creates content online, and that's basically most of you probably following the channel. Researchers from the Imperial College London, Stanford and the Internet Archive published a story finding that roughly 35% of all new websites are either AI generated or AI assisted, and that is more than a third of the new content on the internet. So here's the thing that's really interesting. Using sentiment analysis, they found that AI generated websites actually had a positive sentiment score of 107% higher than non-AI websites. So in plain English, AI is making internet fake happy. The researchers call this a symptom of sycophantic and over-optimistic nature of language models. AI writing tools generally tend to be overly positive and agreeable unless you sort of fine tune them yourself. And obviously that is spilling over onto the overall tone of the online content. So for your business, this obviously has practical implications. If you are using AI to write content for your website, your marketing, your social media, watch the tone. AI generated content tends to sound artificially enthusiastic, which can actually put off real customers, because now I believe psychologically actually we're starting to clearly differentiate between what's AI generated and what is kind of human generated. But that doesn't mean we don't ignore the AI content. I believe it's just how we read it and process it. So I'm quite conscious when I see, I don't know, a post or social media post on LinkedIn or whatever, I'm quite consciously scanning it to see if it's AI generated. If I think it is AI generated, then what I do is I'll actually just skip through and like read either the TLDR, or I'll just skip through the key points and skip through the article in 10, 20 seconds and try and pull out the key parts. And I think that's the way things are going. I think our brain is now kind of acclimatizing to AI content, recognizing what is. And it doesn't mean AI content is bad. I think it's just the way that we absorb it is different and the way we process it. So I think the lesson here is really simple. Use AI for drafts, for ideas, for speeding up responses, but always add that human layer in, and always make sure you build it on a context framework underneath. Edit the tone, inject your actual voice, make it sound like a real person wrote it. And if you have sourcing information from websites, be aware that obviously the growing percentage of what you are reading is AI generated and potentially artificially positive. Now, the next story is important if you're thinking about hiring or worried about AI taking jobs. LinkedIn has released data showing that hiring is down about 20% since 2022. But here is the key finding. AI is not to blame. Not yet, anyway. LinkedIn's Chief Global Affairs Officers, it's a bit of a mouthful, said that they have looked at their data extensively and they have not seen the AI-driven impacts everyone expected in areas like customer support, admin, or marketing. The decline is more closely tied to higher interest rates than AI. However, and here is the warning, the skills needed to do the average job have changed 25% over recent years. And LinkedIn expects that to be 70% by 2030 due to AI. So even if you're not changing jobs, your job is changing on you. So for business owners, this means two things. First, if you're hiring, it feels tough right now, look beyond AI as the cause. Economic factors are the main driver. Second, start thinking now about how you can upskill your team on AI tools. The changes are coming, and the businesses that adapt early will have the advantage. And obviously, any advantage to business, you've got to take it. You've got to seize that opportunity. The practical step is to identify the repetitive tasks of the business in the operation and then automate or pilot AI alongside those tools first, see if it works, see if it cost saves, and then implement and roll it out. Okay, quick hits now. First, a startup called Antioch raised $8.5 million to become what they call the Cursor of physical AI. If you've not heard of Cursor, it's an AI-powered coding tool which I use. Well, actually, I've just recently cancelled my subscription with Cursor, but I'll tell you about that later. And Cursor is valued at $2.6 billion, which is obviously quite chunky. Antioch wants to do the same thing, but for robots, drones, and autonomous systems. They build simulation environments where robot builders can test thousands of scenarios virtually before building, obviously, physical prototypes. For most SMEs, this is not something you use directly, but it signals that building physical AI is becoming more accessible, and it's definitely a thing for the future. Within a few years, that could mean cheaper robotics for warehouse automation, delivery, or manufacturing. Next, OpenAI updated its Agent SDK with new features for building safer AI agents. The key additions are sandbox compatibility, which lets businesses run agents in isolated environments. So if something goes wrong, it doesn't affect your whole system. Great, we like that. And there's also support for complex multi-step tasks. Worth noting, this does lock you into OpenAI's models and their cloud. So if you are building agents for your business, it's definitely worth looking at open source alternatives too. The tools for building production ready agents are maturing across the board, not just from the big players. And VCs are offering Anthropic funding rounds, valuing the company at over $800 billion, almost matching OpenAI. Anthropic has been turning them down left, right, and center, but their revenue reportedly hit £30 billion by the end of March. Not bad. That is obviously quite explosive growth. Now, for SMEs, the real story here is not the valuations, it is the competition between these two companies. It's driving open source models to get better and also cheaper, which again is what we like. More competition means more capable tools at every level, including the ones you can run on your own hardware. So the one to watch this week, Meta researchers have introduced something called hyperagents. Wow, that means they're like super fast, I guess, with hyper in the word. Self-improving AI systems that get better at improving themselves over time. So let me break that down. Previously, AI that improved itself could only be done within very narrow boundaries like writing code. What Meta has done is create a system where the AI can improve its performance of tasks and also improve the way it goes about improving itself. Quite a mouthful. In testing, these hyperagents went from 20% resolution rates to over 50% on some coding benchmarks. The key is they can add their own improvements like persistent memory or performance tracking without human developers constantly tweaking the system. So for business owners, this points towards a future where AI tools actually adapt to your specific needs more automatically over time rather than, as you currently have to do, constant reconfiguration and tweaking and improvements. So obviously this is still research stage, not ready for the operations yet, but we can see the clear direction where this is going. AI is moving towards systems that learn and improve on their own, so it's worth keeping an eye on this one. Now, the story I mentioned at the start, and it is the most important one this week for any business owner using AI. MIT Technology Review published a piece titled, "Why Having Humans in the Loop in an AI War is an Illusion." It uses military examples, quite a hot topic at the moment, but the lesson applies directly to your business. The core argument is this: we tend to think that having a human Overseeing AI system provides a safeguard and check against things going wrong, but the research actually shows that this is often an illusion. Controversial. Humans develop what researchers call automation bias. We tend to defer to AI outputs even when evidence contradicts them because it reduces our cognitive load, especially in stressful, time-pressurized situations. And I think this is actually a really relevant point, and it kind of links into what I was talking about, the brain and how it relates to AI content, generated content. I think we are, as humankind, adapting to the way and the volume of the availability of new data and how we process it. So, I mean, just think about your own business for a moment. If you're using AI tools for hiring decisions, for customer service responses, for financial forecasting, for any kind of operational automation, there's a real risk that you and your team will start treating AI outputs as gospel without actually verifying them. The moment you stop questioning the outputs, you have essentially handed over the decision making. The researchers argue that true human oversight actually requires active engagement, not just passive monitoring. You can't just glance at what AI produces and tick a box. You need someone who understands the tasks, questions the output, and is empowered to override it. So for your business, the practical takeaway is this: use AI to flag issues, to suggest options, to speed up routine tasks, but never delegate critical judgments entirely to it. Sounds like common sense, really, doesn't it? Build a review process. Make sure a human in the loop is actually engaged, not just rubber stamping it. And this is exactly the kind of thing I help owners with on this channel and through our consultancy, working out where AI fits, what to automate, and crucially, where to keep humans in control. If you're trying to figure out where AI could save you time and money, or you've already started, and you're not sure whether you're going to get the most out of it, I offer a free AI audit intro call where we can talk through your operations together and hopefully identify some quick wins. No sales pitch, just practical advice from someone who runs businesses and uses AI tools every day. The link's in the description, so check out my site. So this is the distilled takeaway this week. AI is becoming autonomous from desktop apps that work while you sleep to self-improving agents that learn on their own. But the more capable these systems get, the more important it is to stay actively engaged. The research is clear. Passive oversight is not oversight at all. The businesses that will win are the ones that use AI to handle the repetitive work while keeping genuine human judgment on the decisions that matter. If this week was useful, please subscribe. I put this out every week. I'm also doing various different types of content on the channel, some AI learning things. Basically, the whole point of this channel is to help business owners gain some basic form of AI literacy, because I think it's absolutely mandatory for the future. I think the importance of understanding the basics and the foundations and just being aware is absolutely mandatory. I think being a hardcore coder as a business owner is not necessary, but I think the more information you know, the better literacy you have, can only make you take advantage of the opportunity of the development and implementation of AI in business. So the core purpose of this channel stays the same, helping you as business owners increase your AI literacy so you can use it as an advantage. No hype, no jargon, just what you need to know. See you next week.